I laugh. Had he grown up in this country, swimming and track were big in the Bahamas, right? Had he grown up in this country, that guy would be on his way to returning punts for a pro NFL team. Because the guy's crazy fast and crazy strong and crazy athletic. But he was getting a lot, he wanted to go to these big schools and this and that, and I was like, hey, I think I got the perfect place for you. And I told him the name of the school, and he looked at me like I had four heads, and he said, Coach, I ain't ever even heard of that place. Okay? Avante went on to be a multiple-time national champion, a multiple-time captain of a team that won the NC2A Division IIs, and now I had the honor to write him a wonderful letter of recommendation, and now he's on his way to pursue his dream in his professional career, that quite frankly, had he gone to some big school and just been another number, I'm not sure that opportunity would have been there for him. So I am happy in the college recruitment process to be as much or as little as a resource as you all want with your individual situation.
But I'm going to interrupt and tell you, I'm going to put a different hat on now because I've been through this with Dan, with two very different children, and have been a bystander and on the peripheral for hundreds and hundreds that have come through here in the last 15 years of all levels. If you don't use Dan as your resource, you're crazy. I have watched kids come in who are very talented, but again, looking at the wrong match for various reasons. And Dan's like, just wait, because he's really good at seeing what's going to happen 18 months from now. Where everybody else thinks it's planning for today or even the season we're coming into, that's not where he's focusing. And he can see that with every level of kid that we have. And these kids have gone to colleges, and even, the first offer comes and it's not exactly there, and I've seen him work and talk and get a little bit more. So use him. That would be first. I will tell you, I went against every time. I guess the second time they knew, but I went against the Baylor way. My kids went through the college counseling because you have to. They did all of that. But they were like, I don't need you to find my schools for me. And they didn't. They didn't use that at all. But they both had very different plans and whatever. Because we're on this end. I've seen it. It's not just about swimming. It's like, what do you want to study? What do you want to do in the next level of your life? What kind of environment are you comfortable in? What if swimming's not there? Because we never know, it could go away. Is this where you're going to go? The answer is no, that's not the right school for you. If your child's not going to that school, regardless of what they're doing swimming-wise, then they need to go another place. And he's great at getting them to understand that.
Just remember, there's lots of options out there. I'll tell them all the time, probably don't want to marry the first girl you kiss. Maybe you do, but first time you go there, yeah, this place is awesome. Like, hold on, let's see some other options. So, the point is that certainly swimming's a big deal, right? But ultimately, what I'm looking at is where are they when they graduate, and what are they doing with their life after that? Because that's what we want them all to be happy, right? So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about was just a theme, and being on the national, getting to go to these trips, right, with the national team. There's the coaching component, and then there's all kinds of other cool stuff that you learn, that you think you know everything as a coach, and then there's this whole other part that is so super important. So I'm flat out ripping off because I love it. The theme for United States team when we go to the Junior Pan Packs, we have a theme. And I'm stealing that theme and bringing it to us this year. That theme is, like, on our trip, every kid is getting a box of dominoes. And they're going to play dominoes, get to know each other. That's one of their activities, to get to know each other. Because on these trips that you do, you got, 40 kids from all over the country, and oh, by the way, in 3 days, we're supposed to be a team. So we got the kids are getting dominoes, right? And they're going to play a lot of dominoes, with the point being that, every domino has its place, and every domino has its impact. And we're gonna rip that one off, and we're going to apply that to the Baylor swimming program this year. And I think it's going to be nice for them to see that, and to get them all to understand that it's just nice to watch the kids grow and develop to the point where they understand, okay, now it's my turn to take the shot. I can't wait for anybody else to take that last shot. I got to nail this free throw for us to win. To get them to understand that. One thing that Laura touched on, just remember, a lot of kids see this and they can't see past their face. I'm always thinking 18 months down the line of where they're going to be, That's where my focus is all the time with them. That's why sometimes I have to tell them that, at the breaks, you're going to be all right. Here's the way we go. One other thing that I want to touch on briefly. So knock on wood, we haven't had much trouble with injury in this program. But it's sports and it's athletics and it's life. Injuries are going to happen. Okay? Just please use me as a resource. And very much keep me in the loop on a lot of things, because, so here's one way that I'm weird. There's a bunch of them, but sometimes when your child has a little ding, etc., it's like the best thing that ever happened. And that doesn't sound logical, but what I've seen is we've been able to take the kids and we're trying to make a change, right? But everybody does what's comfortable to them, right? That's inevitably what we do as humans. And then sometimes when they take that body part away and it's like, okay, now you have to make this change. It's really been hugely beneficial for the kids. I know this summer we have 3 kids here who I was able to change what they do because a body part got taken away from them for a while. And they touched their toe in the benefit of it this summer. But again, looking down the line, I'm like, we keep doing this. Wow, we're going to have something special here later on down the line. So, injuries and stuff are going to happen. Stuff's going to happen. I remember Laura brought her daughter in one time. Coach Dan, this doesn't look good. And I'm like, no. Her bone is sticking out of her leg. That doesn't look good. She fell down the steps. Right?
Those steps are gone now.
We put old Humpty Dumpty back together, and her daughter won the state championship 3 years in a row, swimming her race literally 3 different ways with the use of 3 different engines in her swimming. So we've got a great medical staff here, and we're certainly not going to don't try and get anybody but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Sometimes it's going to happen just because they come in one day and, dude, you're 4 inches taller. What happened last night? You know, and then we have to take them back, and because they're steering a different vessel, and reteach them how to drive that boat, understanding that once they learn how to drive that boat's going to have a little more horsepower to it, and they're going to go a little quicker.
Injury doesn't mean they can't practice. There's so much more, and that's what they hear. That's what they think when it first happens to them. Oh my gosh, I can't swim. I can't do this. There's so much more, and so many creative things that I've seen happen around here.
I know a lot of ways. I know a lot of ways to fry a fish, as I like to say.
Not always in the water.
And the boys a couple years ago put up a little thing that I laughed when I saw it. But it's a slogan that I say. I'm like, look, I'm not interested in what you can't do. Tell me what you can do, and let's be awesome. Let's make that amazing. So that's another thing that I want to impress upon y'all. But I'm as excited as I'll get out for this season. Because again, I love having Chip on my shoulder, and I think this group will really do well with a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Question.
We're excited.
What are the championship leagues that y'all are the championship leagues? What are the championship leagues?
That's a great question, because we're going to shift the paradigm a little bit. I don't know quite yet. Here's the thought process. Whenever the trial cuts come out, I always put that up so the kids can see it every day what those are. We're going to do a lot more long course than we ever have, because I know this stuff, but sometimes you have to be reminded of it. This summer we swam so much long course, then we took a 2-week period where I like to clean them up as we get into championship season. And I was like, holy smokes, these kids are flying relative to what they were able to do yards before. A lot of it depends on what the Olympic trial cuts are. And we're not going to know those until probably the end of September. The thought process is this. Because they're going to go 2 ways with the Olympic trial cuts. They want the meat smaller. Now, how much smaller the actual Olympic trials? They want the meat smaller. They being United States Swimming, and it is a zoo. It is. I mean, I love having kids there, but it is too many people. And if anything, I was taught this summer, I was just reminded of how incredibly, phenomenally deep our country is relative to performance. Lots of good kids. So the long and the short is we will do the tradition. If the trial cuts get crazy fast, we'll do our traditional state meet. We're going to do our region meet here. And a big part of it is I don't want to tack on another expense. I don't want to go to a facility where our kids can't breathe. I know our kids can breathe here. And basically putting them in the best situation to succeed. If the trial cuts don't deviate much from that, then I'll be tacking in a couple more long course meets to try and make those, and putting more emphasis on that.
NCSA this year?
It depends on how fast they make it. Does that make sense? So, and right now we're going to be twiddling our thumbs till end of September once that goes out.
And I'll send that out as soon as we see those cuts and talk about it. I'll
We've got Plan A and Plan B already ready. We're just.
I don't know which one to throw out there.
Any other questions?
What about going back to a fall trip for the team?
We would love it.
Yeah, we would love it,
But
Fall trip.
the fall trip, winter break, or fall break, that Thursday. We used to do a long weekend trip, but there's a million things that have changed, and that's not a great time for us. And then we planned a trip for over Christmas break, and we were told it was too expensive. So that's all on hold.
Long story short, we used to do a fall training trip, and it was awesome. Okay, then we had we would go down to Panama City over fall break, camp out. It was a great experience. Then we had like 2 years in a row where we get the call a month out saying, "Oh, your campsites are underground, underwater. We've had so much weather that you're not going to be able to be there." And then, to be honest with you, the school kind of barked back about finances, and said, "We got this nice pool here. You all need to swim in it here." So that was one of those